Welcome back to Becoming a Published Author is Fun. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, check out episode 8 where I explain that. Today we are in episode 55 and we're looking at research. Notice I have the little dash there. And what the reason is, we're going to be looking at the word search here. Now I have covered this topic in previous posts. Whether I've done it in this particular in becoming a published author is fun or not, I don't remember, and I didn't go back and do the research to find that out because it's not really all that important. I think that hitting it again, if I have done it here before, it's a good area to go again because that's something that we as authors need to remember how to go about doing simple research. We're getting in that age now where we're kind of depending upon AI to do our work for us. I think that's dangerous. I think you need to be active in it yourself. And if you're using AI, you should be checking AI's information out. Remember, it's not beyond creating some false information. So you want to verify. I think I talked about this before, check and verify. So here's a simple way for you to go about checking something out. And I'm using Google search as my example. It applies though to just about any search engine that I know of that's out there. Very similar approach. So you can experiment with this. So using the search engine. So what's going to look up, we're going to take the word Jerusalem. And so the idea is to find out as much information as maybe your book that you're writing is going to take place in Jerusalem, or maybe somehow related to the city of Jerusalem. And so you need some information that you want to incorporate, at least some of that, into your book. You're going to get far more information than you need. That's fine, but you need to have some information to begin with. And so this will provide that. You simply go into the search engine and follow these steps. The first step here is to type in the word Jerusalem, nothing more, just that. What's going to happen is if you follow my directions and don't hit enter, there's going to be a sub list that's going to come up that's going to list different phrases, words and phrases. And then you look in there, and let's say we looked in there and we find the word, well, any word in this case. The word I'm thinking of, yeah, you come in there and it's in the Bible. That's the one you find. And you say, okay, I like that one. I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to put that in. So you type that in. Don't hit enter. A new menu comes up, so sub-menu, listing, new phrases, new words, and so forth. And then so you type in the next word or words. In this case, we're going to put, see the word facts there. So we check on facts. Now we hit enter. Very simple steps, and you can check this out yourself to see how it works. But the thing is this, you keep building this up and you're going deeper and deeper into the information that you're trying to get. You have a variety at all times, different things. For instance, up here, instead of in the Bible, or after that, instead of facts, you could have been prophecy, history, different words or phrases that could pop up. Even going all the way back here, Jerusalem in the Bible. Well, it could be a Jerusalem in geography, Jerusalem in history, Jerusalem. Your choices are broad, but you want to go deeper and deeper to get whatever it is you need for your book. And that's why I'm not being entirely specific here, because you're the one that's going to apply the filters. And that's what these are. These are filters. And you're going to apply them so that you could find the information out. In fact, let's say you went through here and did all this, got your facts, and we'll get down to this part in a minute, and you got the information you wanted. Now you can go back and say, okay, I'm going to still start out with Jerusalem, but now I'm going to change it, and you can change the filter, these filter items. And as you go through and do that, you get some more information that is pertinent to your book. And you just go in, you can copy and paste the information, or you can favor it. But the whole idea is you are gathering information that you are going to later on go through and examine and see if there's anything specific in there that you can use. And you might start out with broad stuff, save it, and then you can go back and look at your saved stuff and narrow it down. So we've done this part already. Now the next thing here is you get pages of searches. Now you're getting into some areas where you got to exercise caution. If you've been using the internet for any length of time, you've already arrived at a conclusion. There's some false information out there. There's misleading information out there. When you're talking about the Bible, there are people who don't even believe the Bible, don't even believe in God, and they're writing about the Bible as though they knew what they were writing about. Well, they don't. I don't care what degrees they have. If they don't have the Lord in their life, they don't know the Bible. You have to have the Lord in your life. Well, how are you going to discern that? Well, in some cases, you've already done that, perhaps, in different searches and things of that nature. So you've established some sites you have confidence in. There are some sites that you have limited confidence in, and what I mean by that is you don't agree with their doctrine, but their facts as far as historical or even where they interpretations of words and so forth, those might be something you find reliable. You determine that. Another thing you determine is not only the reliability, but is the subject matter that you find on there really pertinent to your search. It's still kind of broad, so you're going to narrow it down. And so the thing is, you're going to examine your sources. You want to find out those that you can use, and you can keep a list. Now, some of mine are in my head. I just used them so many times, when it pops up, I recognize it. But another way is that you could also write down resources that you can do. And by the way, you can go back if you want to, take that resource and search it. Instead of saying Jerusalem, put the name of that resource there, and then you can go down and check out different criteria. So you can check out a lot of different things just by using that simple test. So these are the ones I'm talking about here right now. They're already approved. The others are the ones that you have to determine the reliability. Now, I personally favor that your very first filter be the Bible test. And why do I do that? Because we live in a society now, in a world where man's education reigns supreme. But the truth of the matter is, man's knowledge, skill, critical skills don't measure up to God's. And if you're a Christian and you're looking at this, you want God's perspective. You want God to be leading you into this information search. So you put the Bible first. And then you say, okay, you might ask me, well, what about archaeology? That's pretty reliable. Yeah, it's pretty all right, but it's not all that reliable. One of my favorite points of this is I talk about the Hittites. The Bible, if you go into the Bible, The Bible talks a lot in the Old Testament about a group of people called the Hittites. Well, when man began using archaeology to criticize the Bible, they examined the idea of the Hittites and they couldn't find anything. They searched all the way through every record of archaeological record they could find. There wasn't a single mention of them. And so they came to the conclusion, and using human logic, they were not wrong in that. They were using human logic. And they were looking at it from a human logic perspective instead of the biblical perspective. The biblical perspective is the Bible is right, especially if you're using the King James version. Some of the other versions, they have some errors in them, but the King James does not. There's imagined errors that can always, if you look at it and do the research, they don't become, the error part disappears. But the thing is, you want to start out with the Bible. But in their sense, they're starting out with human reasoning. And in human reasoning, they were right. There was no Hittites. Not a single piece of discovered archaeology had anything that pointed to the Hittites. So, years went by. Not just years. Not just tens of years. Not just hundreds of years. It was close. Well, somewhere between hundreds of years and thousands. Okay, I think it's over 1,000 years went by, and then one day they discovered something that mentioned the Hittites. Talk about putting science on its head. They had to go back and they started doing some more research, and guess what? They discovered there was a very large warlike group called the Hittites. Now, let me clarify something here. During those hundreds of years, they were saying the Bible was wrong. Now all of a sudden they discover, well, no, actually the Bible was right. Now because they said so, did that now make the Bible right where it was wrong before? Or was it right all along? Obviously, it was right all along. So archaeology is a good resource, but it should always be looked at from a biblical review. If it doesn't measure up to what the Bible says, then they have some lack of knowledge, an error somewhere in their resume, if you will. Now they will disagree with you on that and disagree with me on that, but the facts are there. And they failed. You only need one failure, and that failure is there. And so the Hittites, that's just one aspect. And you can go through, and there's other areas where they say, well, such and such didn't exist. You go into Egyptian history. Egyptian history talks about all sorts of things, about pharaohs and so forth, and when they were around and when they weren't and so forth. Much of that is wrong. Why? Because back when they started keeping records, they had a north and a south, or they had what they call the upper and the lower. The upper was south, and the lower was in the north. That was because of geography. But the thing is, they ruled simultaneously. But when they started recording history, they didn't do it this way. They did it this way. And so this one here ruled, and this one here ruled at the same time, but when you look at it historically, it looks like one followed the other, and that messed up their history. Now, some of them are beginning to correct that, but still, some still favor, and I think the majority of them still favor the old way of doing things. So you got to be careful about your resources. When you are establishing your filters, you want your filters to be as accurate as you can. So that's your first. Then after that, you can establish the filters that pertain to your particular research. Once you've established, you found out some sites that look like they're pretty good and they meet your tests, now you can start putting out other tests that will narrow your research down. It will save you tons of time. And by the way, Let's say you're using AI and it comes up with some responses. Now, it may save you some of this here, but you're still going to want to go in and check what they find. And if they give references and stuff like that, type the reference up here. Type that reference in and see if it finds it. Or you can, if it's actually a URL reference, you can type that instead of the search engine. Type it in. Well, it'll still be the search engine block there, and you just type that URL in, and it will take you right to that site if it exists. If it doesn't exist, you might get a 404 or something of that nature. So the thing is, use the tools that you have available. And the tool you have available is a search engine. It will help you and to narrow the information down, save you tons of money. Well, I'm not so sure about the money. It probably will, but it'll save you tons of time, which is actually, if you're an author, you would buy, you know that that's money as well. So it will save you a lot of time and effort, energy. Use that. Try it out and see if that doesn't help you get your knowledge you need. Because everything you write, whether it be fiction or nonfiction, you want to have a basic core that's factual. In a novel, it's a core. In the nonfiction, it would be the whole book. And so you want to check that out. So make use of this. It's a tool that you can use. It's free to use, and you have it available on your computer. That's it for today, and I will see you in the next episode.